camera. You give it, give it, off, give it, off, down, down.
Give it. Hello everyone, I'm Alex Navarro, and welcome to a particularly stab-happy edition of Half Good here on Screen.com. With this week's theme pertaining to faith and religion in the realm of science fiction, today I want to talk about one of my favorite really not good movies of the last decade in David Twohy's The Chronicles of Riddick. Functionally a sequel to Twohy's 2000 space horror flick Pitch Black, Chronicles continues the adventures of that movie's best survivor, the intergalactic serial killer Riddick, played by Mr. Vin Diesel. Envisioned as a kind of coming-out party for the character, the movie was meant to be the centerpiece of a Riddick-related media assault, which also included the thoroughly excellent Chronicles of Riddick prequel video game, Escape from Butcher Bay, as well as tie-in animated shorts and comic books. And then the movie came out, and, well, let's just say people didn't have an awful lot nice to say about it. It's understandable because Chronicles is a really expensive-looking mess. The character of Riddick, now floating around the galaxy fighting bounty hunters and on the hunt for his former ward, Jack, finds his way back to the planet Helion Prime and another survivor from the Pitch Black crash in Keith David's Imam. Imam, and a barely explained elemental alien, played by a clearly slumming it Judi Dench, tells us some kind of prophecy of good defeating evil, and, you know, of course Riddick seems to be the perfect fit for it. But before anything can really come of that, evil religious aliens appear and quickly conquer the living shit out of the planet.
Humans in all their various races are a spontaneous outbreak, an unguided mistake. Our purpose is to correct that mistake.
These are the totally goth necromongers, headed up by a Lord Marshal whose ill-defined powers are apparently the result of him being sort of dead or something. There's fighting, sci-fi gothic architecture, crazy fire planets, more fighting, prophesying.
Are you gonna stop the new monsters now?
Philosophizing.
There is no future until we settle our past.
Even more fighting. And lots of brooding, muscular Vin Diesel.
Me? I'm just passing through.
So why doesn't this movie completely work? Well, actually, for most of the reasons I just described. The Good, Riddick, / Vin Diesel. If nothing else, David Twohy greatly succeeded in elevating Riddick from an interesting side character to one worthy of his own focused universe here. Diesel sinks his teeth into the role from the outset and never lets go. His casually homicidal demeanor is alternately charming and unsettling, but you never question whether or not you should be rooting for him. His wisecracks don't feel like bad Hollywood cliches, but more the result of the character's distinct brand of nonchalance.
Now, who do I have to kill to get this payday off my head?
Twohy also manages to stage some legitimately great action scenes for Diesel to show off his physical skills. He has some particularly great battles against necromongers and prisoners alike. But this one scene in particular, where Riddick and crew go apeshit on the surface of the aforementioned fire planet, with no sound but the pounding soundtrack, is just fantastic. The bad guys. While they're suitably intimidating, they're also boring, overly theatrical shit. As a metaphor for humanity's penchant for religious persecution and conquering, they're about as subtle as a dagger to the skull. But even beyond the extremely obvious commentary, as well as the incredibly muddled nature of their faith, the necromongers just don't offer up anything beyond a marginal threat for Riddick to deal with between the other parts of the movie that are less crap. The Lord Marshal, with his weird teleporting powers and constant hand-wringing over the prophecy that pretty much says Riddick's gonna kill him at some point, occasionally seems like an interesting presence, but too often we instead find ourselves with Lord Baco and his scheming, sniveling wife, played by Carl Urban and Thandie Newton, respectively.
My place is at your side, dear husband. From here till Underverse come.
Newton is, at least, hilariously over the top. But Urban's character is just a stone-faced, cantankerous killer. Twohy just doesn't write enough for Baco to actually make him interesting to watch. apart from his ridiculous space mullet. Things pick up on Crematoria, the fire planet, when Riddick is screwing around with both greedy bounty hunters and scumbag jailers alike. But every time the necromongers come around doing their whole Catholic Borg thing, the movie's ability to hold your attention just takes like a serious nosedive.
Your unflinching loyalty.
Obedience without question. Loyalty till Underverse come.
The good. The universe. The notion of David Twohy expanding on the Pitch Black universe sounded a little crazy at the time. While Riddick was a character people liked from the movie itself didn't exactly do like gangbusters business or anything. That said, Twohy certainly is not lacking in ideas here. His expansion of this sci-fi universe is filled to the brim with bizarre, fascinating, and completely crazy worlds, races, and concepts. At times, the sheer scope of those ideas threatens to divert the audience's attention away from the story, simply because some of the elements don't always make a ton of sense. There's no great understanding of the history of humanity here, or how they came to colonize these different worlds, and Twohy also never quite managed to explain the whole economy of this universe, or like why prison planets are able to, or willing to pay for convicts.
When the ride's over, your goggles are mine.
But minor points like this are often overshadowed by the incredible detail put into the scenery and world. A particular note is the subterranean prison planet Crematoria, which literally catches on fire when it faces the sun. Twohy mines some great tension out of the scenes on the surface of the planet. Fire bad. The bad. The dialogue.
So, where do we drop your merc-killing ass? Who's gonna pay the most for you now?
Apart from Diesel's ability to sell just about any goofball line Twohy throws his way, listening to people speak in this movie is an exercise in forehead slapping. The dialogue in this movie operates on two distinct levels of suck. First, there is the ponderous expository dialogue, in which characters do things and say things only to painstakingly try to explain to the audience what the hell is even going on here.
But now we have any time to speak of the balance of opposites.
There is a story, Riddick, of young male Furians.
This stuff is leaden, lame, and at a point, insufferable, especially when uttered by Judi Dench, who clearly could not be any less interested in being involved in this production. Second are the big dramatic one-liners, bits of dialogue that get so much emphasis that they practically exist as their own standalone scene.
But I will take a piece of him.
Kill the Riddick.
Who is this man?
Twohy insists on zooming in on characters, cutting away from them, or otherwise doing everything he can to make these ridiculous lines the center of attention every chance he gets. It's almost laughably terrible at times, especially with Thandie Newton, who vamps it up like she was auditioning for a Mexican soap opera set in space.
You have such greatness in you. If only you could see it like I do.
You keep what you kill.
And thus is the dichotomy of Chronicles of Riddick. For every unmistakably badass moment, there is some ludicrously dopey bit of nonsense to nearly cancel it out. For every awesome set piece and crazy element of the movie's universe that's introduced, there's an equally lame one that has to be explained in excruciating detail. There's an undeniably attractive universe in Chronicles of Riddick, and the truly charismatic hero at the center of it. It's just the rest of the movie that slips around those things that fails to deliver.
I should have taken the money.
And that shall do it for another edition of Half Good. As always, we want to know what your thoughts on this little half stinker. So by all means, loud or ridiculed away in the comments. Once again, I've been Alex Navarro, reminding you that regardless of how benign the object is in his hand, Richard B. Riddick will not hesitate to fucking kill you with it.
I'll kill you with my teacup.